Hello and welcome to the Soulful Mamas podcast. You're with Maria and thanks for joining me today. It's really great that you're here. You've made the time, the space. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Your week's been fantastic. I know it's been a bit of a minute since I've released an episode, or particularly with a guest. So it's quite exciting. I did have an extended sacred pause, and I really had to drop into, if I'm truly going to practice what I preach and show up fully authentically, I do need to take those sacred pauses myself, recognize when they're there, even when there's many things that I need to be doing, and just spending a bit more time with family and connecting in there was important, always is important, and I prioritize that and self-care really. I don't know about you, but the deep bone tiredness I have experienced to a greater level over the last few months has been huge, and it's a combination of many things. Perimenopause being one of them, but that's not the only thing. There's sensitivities to energies and solar flares and just information bombardment. There's just so many things, and I am absolutely not alone in this. And I know maybe you yourself have experienced to some degree this tiredness, or just working through a change in your body. So it's important to notice, and the noticing comes when you slow down, when you allow yourself some stillness. That's where that sacred pause comes in. And it can be confronting, because it means you're really in it and you're feeling it, but then you're giving it a seat at the table, you're giving it space to say what it needs to say, and you can work through it. So that's where I've been navigating of late. So this episode with Carrie, I recorded a few months ago, and so I've just re-listened to it just to put myself back into that zone. And I loved the conversation then, and I love it even more now. It feels very appropriate right now for even me myself to hear some of the topics we covered, the conversations. So yeah, I'm really excited to bring to you Carrie Lingenfelter. She's from Colorado in the States, and she was a speech therapist. But as it happens, when you have children, your path generally changes, or it ebbs and flows a little bit. Her path right now is with her two children. She herself is a highly sensitive person, and as are they. So it's been about working and learning and navigating and exploring and showing out for herself and showing out for them. And she's an absolute beautiful human. Her heart is huge. She has a podcast, Heart to Heart Parents, and it's the perfect name for it, because her heart is, beautiful. You will find out all of these things as you listen in. So without any further ado, I bring to you the beautiful, wonderful Carrie. Carrie, welcome. Welcome to the Soulful Mamas podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Maria. I'm so excited to connect with you today.
Yeah, me too. Me too. We're just saying how the beauties of algorithms sometimes are really wonderful. They can connect us with the people that we want to, make those connections with. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time. Do you want to share a little bit with us about, well, firstly, where you are in the world and your entry into motherhood, your journey into motherhood, and what that looked like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to. I'm in Colorado in the US, so it's lunchtime for me as we're recording. It's a fun, it's so fun to connect online. Yes, and I love talking about my journey into motherhood. I almost said spiritual motherhood, which is pretty much describes my journey into
I
motherhood
love
is
that.
the spiritual transformation. that was motherhood for me. So just a little background. I grew up with spirituality my whole life. My grandmother's from Argentina, and my mom was raised spiritually as well. So we were raised with open minds and connecting to ourselves and hearing ourselves. But along the way, with going to the university and learning about evidence based practice as a teacher and all of these things, it really enforced a lot of perfectionism, which I guess it was university, but also just personality too, growing up a people pleaser and such. So even though I was raised spiritually, as soon as I was pregnant with my now almost 10-year-old son, I really wanted everything to be perfect. I read some awful books. No disrespect to what not to or what to expect when you're expecting, but it just really implemented all of this fear. It's really popular in the States. I don't know if it's popular
It
where
is
you
here
are,
too.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it really just like did not prepare me for the journey that I was about to go on. And even we took like a birthing class with the hospital, and it just like brought on all of this fear. So luckily, when I did have my second child, I have an almost 7-year-old daughter. When I had her, I had some spiritual friends that recommended a spiritual doula that helped me to do some motherhood preparation courses. And actually, it was for my husband as well. He went with me. And so the second time around, we had this empowering, uplifting, completely different experience from the first time. So we were really lucky that a friend had recommended. We had done the program. It was called Birthing from Within. Was the one we did for when we had our daughter. And the even though the right after like the labor and delivery for my daughter, she was a month early. She ended up having to go into the NICU for some oxygen and some support and such. So her labor and delivery ended up being harder than my son's. We still did so much better. We were so prepared, so empowered. I was able to have her naturally. It was like a totally different experience. But along with the spiritual transformation, when I first had my son, I had this perfection idea of what I had to do as a mom. And I would have 85 sleep gadgets. I tried to do the reusable diapers at first. And I had all of these ideas of what I had to do. And I was really strict with my husband. I was strict, I think, a lot of moms may be able to relate with this of how we think we have to do it. And I finally had some spiritual people around me, some mentors, and my mom and my grandmother who were like, "What are you doing? Like, you need to slow down, connect with yourself, stop doing all of these baby books. Like, throw the baby books out. You know what you need to do. Don't try to have him on a sleep schedule, a feeding schedule, a perfection schedule. Like, I was bouncing on this yoga ball, trying to get him to sleep on the schedule with him. And I had him, and he had his wrap and his binky and all his gadgets, this noise machine, all of the things in my closet, dark light, all of these things. And he looked up at me with these bright blue, baby blue eyes. And I realized he will tell me what he needs. He will tell me when he wants to go to sleep, when he wants to eat, all of these pieces. And so I was lucky enough to have these spiritual people around me to help me connect with myself in this journey. And it's definitely been a journey. It wasn't like everything, the clouds parted and everything shifted in one moment. It definitely has been a trial and error of getting into my mind and then realizing, hey, you're in your mind again. What does that sound like? What is the reason? There's inner child pieces that come up with that. There's a whole bunch of pieces that I have really found in this journey to parenting.
Oh, wow. Isn't it just magical though? Because there's something, a shift since once you had your son, that you were more somehow seeking or knowing on an inner level, knowing that there's something else, and then maybe you're a little bit more open to receive, the
Mhm.
spiritual teachers or mentors or little angels that came your way to show
Mhm.
another way that was more aligned. And a
Yeah,
spiritual doula, I've not heard of that, but that sounds amazing. Is
it
that
was
their actual
amazing.
title? That's her title. She's a spiritual doula.
Nope. So I think her title is actually doula, but she brought in spiritual pieces. And part of, I don't know if she actually ever said spiritual. I'm saying spiritual
Yeah.
because the birthing from within program that we did, which she taught us and she was trained in, and we read the book and watched the video. Um, Although it was like an extreme version where it really almost bad mouthed hospitals and such. So my husband and I were not really extreme most of the time. We try to just have a level mind in it all. But the video and such was extreme. But the doula, she really taught us how to connect with ourselves, how
Mm.
to she taught us, like, she would have my husband hold a piece of ice cube in his hand,
Mhm.
and she would say, "You're going to have to hold this for a minute. And I want you to try different tools to help you with the pain." And so he would say, "Okay, let me try some essential oils. Let me smell those. Oh, that helps to take my mind off of the pain. Let me try, Carrie, can you give me a massage on my back? Oh, that helps me to not think of the pain." So it was amazing. She would help us to get out of, when you would start to loop in pain in your body.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess it wasn't necessarily spiritual, but more of a mind, body, soul connection, right?
Yes. I love that. And very much it's that connection with your body, and like your mother and your grandmother said, you know what to do, because we do know what
Yes.
to do. And
Yes.
I also love the fact that it's your second birth was empowering. I hear this so often, and
Oh,
any woman I speak to, the first birth was, that learning curve, and you just sort of,
yeah.
you're either going with the flow, or you have a really strong idea of what you want to do, and then it unfolds completely differently. But often that second birth is the healing birth for
Mm.
particularly the mother, depending on what they experienced. And often there's a form of disempowerment. Um, and like you say, for you, it's that inner perfectionism and wanting to get it all right, because you want to do this. This is the
Yep.
most important job to date, being a mother. So you want to do it,
Yes.
tick all of the boxes and
Yep.
do it so well. But then yeah, I think so many of us can relate. I can relate to that
Yeah.
completely.
I think having that spiritual piece, I think sometimes we hear like spiritual gurus and we hear all these different ideas of how you can, and modalities of how you can connect with yourself spiritually, how you can recharge your energy, how you can help your kids spiritually. Um, And we think, okay, if I do that one thing, then I'm going to be awakened and then I'm going to be done, right? Then it's all set. Then the clouds part, the peace comes out, everything's going to be wonderful. But like we said, the second birth was so much easier. I didn't have the cookie cutter baby shower that I had with my first son. I had a mother's blessing where I
Yeah,
had a mandala and all these women that came around me and created this necklace where they each had a bead with an intention for me, and words of
yeah.
wisdom. And so it was beautiful. Where I'm going with the spiritual pieces, it's not like a one and done.
Mhm.
And even though I had a second child, and like I love that term that you said, just that healing with that second birth that we have, and being able to do it again. Um, it still comes, even though I still have two now, and I've learned every time my first child goes through different phases, it still brings up this new energy of, what do I do? Where do I put my hands? What what is the challenge that we're facing now, and how do I fix it? I still have that fix it syndrome, right?
Yes.
Like, fix the situation, because it is the first and it is new. Although with the second one, if they're both, when they hit the age of 6, they both went through these really sensitive periods. And I think it
Hmm.
was a growth spurt looking back. So
Hmm.
now when my daughter's going through that halfway through 6, she's had this really sensitive period. And my husband and I said, "Oh, you know what? I remember our son having that exact same thing." And so, right? Okay, this is a phase. It's going to get easier.
Yeah.
But still, when the first one goes through those pieces, having those things that you can turn to reset for yourself, to reset for your kids, to help your partner reset, to help all of you through those tough times.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think so some of those ages and stages are they are developmental, and yeah, that the 6-year-old is the 6-year-old change, and it's when it's such a big thing when they start to lose their baby teeth and their 6-year-old molars come through and they
Yes.
turn into gangly giraffes because their limbs are growing, and there's so much going on physically we can see, but also internally for them they're experiencing a big shift,
Mhm.
sense of self as well. And the more we can understand that and learn that this happens for our children, but it might look different. So between your two children, there was there's a growth, but it may have expressed in different ways depending on the temperament of, each of your children. So, but it's
Mhm.
nice to just know that it's not that this is what happens for children. It's not they're playing
Mhm.
up or I'm doing something wrong. It's okay. That's how do I support them as they navigate
Yes.
this stage and phase. So yeah. And I think that key when it sounds very much that you and your husband are um, a good team. And
Mhm. Yeah.
you're often singing off the same song sheet, so to speak, which is so, so helpful. So
Yes.
especially when there's like everything is going well and you've just mastered whatever that they're currently, stage they're currently at, and then there's another one, and then you have to
Yes.
navigate that. And it does put us back into that if you have a tendency to fix it or perfectionism
Mhm.
and people please, and I am slash was slash am that as well, so I understand, um,
Yep.
and then it's just more opportunities for us to meet this and okay, how are we going to meet it this time? Are we going to go straight into our
Mhm.
default of I'm going to fix it all, or
Yeah.
taking a breath and using the tools and support that we've acquired along the way, and
Mhm.
we can tap into that. And that's that, I guess that's when you realize the village, hey, your people, um, that you can call on, that
Mhm.
uh on that same wavelength, that will support you in the way that you and your husband want to parent on this journey. mm, yeah,
The
beautiful.
village the village has been a little bit harder for us. My husband and I were very highly sensitive people. And as far as connection, we've always seeked out like true deep connections. We have a hard time with like the surface level chatter, and we're ready to talk deep meaningful
Yeah,
conversations. So
yeah.
yeah, I think we moved into an area right before the pandemic when everything shut down, and then we started to discover in America we love to use labels, and so my kids definitely have like the neurodiverse labels, especially the gifted and talented piece, which can make them more intense kids at times, and it can make parenting more intense, more challenging, more exhausting at times. So, for instance, in our house, we we have to read our children and what their energy level is at. So if I want to ask them to clean up the dining room floor so I can vacuum, I have to judge what temperament, what energy level my kid is in. And if they're already maxed out, if they're hungry, tired, sick, tired from after school activities or such, it's not a good time to ask them. They're going to erupt, they're going to explode, it's going to be a meltdown. So understanding that for myself, and then understanding, hey, sometimes my house looks messy because I'm exhausted. I'm a highly sensitive person. I've let go of my perfectionist tendencies. I've realized it is what it is. And then learning to be okay with that, learning to feel safe enough to allow another mom or another family to come in, even just during a play date. It's finding that in my heart, finding that understanding that maybe now's not a good time energetically for me to have a play date. Maybe I don't feel safe with this family. Maybe I feel like I would be judged if I had them in my home. Because we have
Yeah.
had that in our house. We have felt judged. We have lost friendships over um our kids being who they are, or my husband and I being who we are.
Wow.
So it's been a
Wow.
big learning piece for us recently.
Yeah, that's huge. So when you moved to you moved to Colorado just before the pandemic, and then you were there throughout that time. And is that away from, did you have family nearby or not?
So we were in Colorado. We just moved like 45 minutes south of where we were for better schools and a better school district. And even that short distance, we left my parents are 45 minutes away, and then friends that we had made and our my old working community were all 45 minutes behind. And then it was right before the lockdown where everything shut down. So it was kind of this eerie feeling of I don't really have anybody nearby that I can wave from across the street. I
Oh,
don't-
yeah,
so we did feel very locked out for a minute, but we love our community. We're really lucky. We're finding a lot of spiritual families, a lot of spiritual people. And it's been interesting in the process of asking for friends. I've been opening it up to the universe. I would love to receive friends and friends that are like minded and that I can connect with soul to soul, that are okay with me being who I am and my kids being who they
yeah,
are.
yeah. So important. I love
Mhm.
that you've it's a conscious uh thought and desire from your part to that you're putting out the energy that you're putting out there. Because I
Yeah.
think more and more that's happening. The surface level conversations and interactions are just,
Mm.
you know, our time is so precious, and this concept of time, but it seems to be just going like it's like water falling through your hands. It's just so
Yes.
fast. And you realize how fleeting this little life this time round is. So you want to do, you want to be conscious with where you put your energy and focus. And
Mm.
that includes, yeah, it's the superficial, surface level stuff. It's not a match. It's not always a
Mm.
match. And you got to find that match that where you're singing off the same song sheet, when you're vibrating together.
Yes.
Otherwise, I find, and if you're a highly sensitive person, you might experience this too. It's draining. It's,
Yes.
and then you need that energy for yourself primarily so that you can support your children, especially if they also have their varying things that they need from you to support them. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
not easy though, is it? It's not easy. It's really not. And I work with a lot of women, and a big thing I talk about is sacred. So taking that
Mm.
sacred pause to connect in, to know if it's a sacred yes or a sacred no with what you're about to, if you're given an opportunity or an invitation, and then you can
Mm.
really, it's within your truth to say it's a yes today or it's a no, and being okay with that, because that's a part when you've got to say no to something
Yes.
and you end up saying yes because it's going to please them, but it's not going to please your your like inner self is saying, "What are you doing? We're tired. We're tapped out." Yeah,
I I love the sacred pause. I think and I feel that so often as far as when it comes with friendships. I oftentimes will feel right away like, yes, this is a good connection. Or
yeah,
we're not really going to mesh. I don't know personality wise. I don't know what's going to come up. I think for me, it's as an empath and highly sensitive person, it can be really hard for me to continue day to day on a surface level if I know there's something amiss with our personalities.
yeah,
I have a really hard time with that because I am so authentic. And yeah, I think just vibrating at a different level, it's really hard for me to put on a mask of, how are you today? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, but because you're, if you're, one of your guiding principles, your true north is to be authentic. And I think more and
Yes.
more that's what we're striving to be. Then if you know yourself, you're not I think authentic by saying yes to something then when you really mean no. And so you got this
Yes.
inner dilemma where, okay, I'm about authenticity, so I need to show up for myself and be authentic. And in a I think it's in the delivery. You can say no if it's coming. If we drop into our heart, and you're all about heart to heart stuff, so you do it anyway. But when we drop into our heart, we're able to say that sacred no with love. You're delivering it with love, and it's not about
Mm-hmm.
it's not you, it's me. It's just we're not on that. So we're not vibing, and it's okay
Yep.
because we're not. The whole planet's not all meant to be. We're all at varying stages, and we find, yeah, you're not meant to be friends with everyone, pretty much. So, and
I love it.
I guess it's good for our children to witness this and have, be us modeling that for them. Because my
Mhm.
son, he'd be fine. He is fine. My daughter, she would be, yeah, more like me previously and say yes to all the things she means no, and vice versa. So they need to see us doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for them. Mm.
I don't, that's been a hard one, is teaching my kids. I feel like both of my kids definitely have that people pleasing piece. It's interesting. There's a new label in the UK, or it's newer. I don't know if you've ever heard of pathological demand avoidance. Um, and I feel like it kind of goes along with people pleaser, where it's like the more there, so we all have a capacity bucket of how much demands we can have on our system before we, as the demands fill up the bucket, we may have moments of eruption. And so these kiddos that maybe have the PDA, their buckets can fill up very quickly, or their bucket could be full from the school day, could be full, and so as we continue to put more in there, it may erupt. I do not remember where I was going with this, but so our uh yeah, so as it's filling up and as it's overflowing, our buckets, it can be harder to maintain our regularity. It can be harder to stay in who we are, stay in our true authentic selves. And um sometimes these kiddos can have so many demands on their system that they don't want to stay connected, right? They don't want to stay in their heart's true desire. So they'll say
Hmm.
yes to something even though they may not mean it. There we go.
Yeah.
I remembered.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well done. Yes. Yes. But I love that for your two children that you are so aware of that for them. You
Mhm.
already know um, the overstimulation or the too many demands. It sounds like
Yep.
you can read them really well, and it will be, you can be the one that says no to that friend coming over, even if, because you know that
Yep.
your daughter has maybe said yes, but she really means no. So you can say the no
Yeah.
for her. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. As a parent, we do have to really have
Mm.
that, we're a bit further up that mountain. So the perspective of you can see it and you know their cues so, you know, intimately
Yeah.
and more than anybody else, and sometimes more than themselves, or especially when they're in it. Hey, so you can really, they need us to advocate for them in that way
Yes.
and to just know those tiny, subtle, it's often really subtle, isn't it? It might be
Mhm.
just a tone or a look or a movement that they do. You're like, oh, okay, if we don't eat now, we're going to end up, yeah, you just know. And
Yes.
yeah, and they need to know that we know, so they know that we've got them. Yeah.
Yeah, they feel supported. It's interesting as you start to tune in and follow some of those intuitions or mom's intuitions or messages that you hear from your heart. As you continue to follow them, they come more easily and you hear
Yes.
them more often. And for me, as an example, I have learned it started when my son was born. My husband was worried that my son was not going to go number 2 or poop. He hadn't pooped yet. And the nurse at the hospital when we left had said, if he doesn't poop by so many hours, we need you to call because, that's dangerous. And so my son's like, he hasn't pooped. He hasn't pooped. I'm going to call the nurse line. And the nurse on the line had said, well, is she nursing? Yes, she's nursing. Well, it sounds like he's not getting enough food. Or he needs more, you need to try formula. And I was like, no, we don't need formula. It's going to be fine. Let's try nursing a little longer. This is what I hear we need. And then I told my husband, okay, build the pack and play with the changing table right here. I have a feeling he's going to poop. And so several hours later, or right after he finished building it, my son pooped and my husband was like, how did you know that this was coming? And I was like, I don't know. I just had this feeling like everything's going to be fine. Do it, keep nursing like you want to. Everything's going to be fine. And everything turned out fine in that situation. It's interesting because now my kids are so sensitive that gluten and dairy can cause so much inflammation in their bodies. And then food dyes we're starting to realize food dyes and artificial flavorings. We never really ate them in our house, but when we go to birthday parties and they start to resist mom now as they're finding their own voice, they're becoming 10 years old. Dad let our son eat a candy that had the food coloring. He came home, he lost his head. Our son, not the dad, but our son lost his head. And I was like, there is something going on. There is a root. This is not who he is every day. He's not going through something. And then a couple days later, I found the wrappers and I was like, hun, did you let him eat? Oh yeah, he was in the backseat. I didn't hear. I'm like, well, but this. So I showed my son, like, did you like the way that you felt? Like you felt so out of control. And I know that it's really hard not to have the same thing as everybody else, but if you would have brought this candy home to me and showed me and said, Mom, can I eat this? I would have given you a replacement of something because I don't want you to miss out on life, but I do just want to switch it up a little bit because of how your body reacts to that. Do you agree with me? And he's like, yeah, Mom, I agree. Like, I'm sorry I did. And I was like, oh, so just, we're learning.
Yeah.
So it's as we're going, that intuition piece really it kicks in and it continues.
Yeah. It's a muscle, isn't it? And the more you use it, the stronger and bigger it's going to get, and it will serve you even more. It's such a beautiful example of, that respectful conversation, and it's probably as hard as it was, but a good thing that he went through the experience himself rather than you just trying to tell him, this is what will happen if you eat this, and he'll be like, what? No.
My mom's crazy.
Yeah. No, yeah. My daughter's got really bad eczema, or especially when she's younger. So now that she's that bit older, and I'll say, well, she's 12, nearly 13, and she is at that point where she just wants to be like her friends, the other girls, and eat this and do that and put not makeup, but she wants to like moisturizers and different things, and we're super, super natural, and usually I make everything for her. And I said, well, it's a choice then, isn't it? I mean, you can try these things, and previously you know what happens to your body, but yeah, I can put it on her, and she's like, yeah, I know. But it's just a way for her to have an outlet and just sort of vent to me. And I know, like we can, like, I know together, but she still knows it's better to not eat those things than to have the huge flare up in her skin. And it's, but it's tricky. Yeah.
It's definitely hard as they get older. I know that for sure. We release some of the reins. We're not in that control. We can discuss, the possibility of what could happen, and it's their decision. And they'll see, with natural consequences, real life consequences of what happens, and make that choice next time for themselves. For sure.
Yeah.
My daughter recently, she asked me for high heels, and I do not really I'm definitely a Birkenstock mom. So it is so hard to be like, where are these high heels coming from? Mom only wears makeup on the day she podcasts. So I do not know. We're pretty natural over here as well. So so that's one that I'm like, well, I want her to, I don't want to push all of my ideas onto her, right? We want to let them live and experience life in the version that they're wanting to be. There was somebody,
Mm.
I was doing a family constellations healing recently. I don't know if you've ever done those,
Yeah,
but I
I haven't
highly
done it, but I know
recommend.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So I was doing one and I was talking to the facilitator about it and about, you know, our children coming in and how they're coming so intensely with these big passionate hearts and these amazing brains and these amazing abilities to connect to the universe and to the higher consciousness. And
Mhm.
she was saying, you know, it's really interesting as a parent right now because there is this understanding of maybe less guidance and more facilitating as a mom and dad. It's less um you know, being in control of everything and more just helping to guide them because they're coming in with such strong understanding of their missions and their ideas,
Yes.
but helping them to make it happen for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting. And that rings true for me too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they
Mm,
are. You know, even the little ones. So I run a play circle group with mums and their
cute.
little ones, and they're just, I don't know, there's something, the knowing in their eyes, and
Yeah.
just, yeah, they've got their mission, they've got their assignment, they know what they're here to
Mhm.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been hearing so often when I do meditations and prayers and such because I was an educator before becoming a mom as well. Hence part of my perfection. I thought I had it all figured out um
Mhm.
before becoming a mom. Don't worry, husband, I've got this. But so I've been hearing so often that so many of these kids they're born with so many amazing gifts, including the ability to connect with themselves, to connect with the universe. But along with these gifts also comes this heightened sensitivity. And it can make it really challenging to be in the human form. And so oftentimes, like for my kids, I see them want to escape the human form, like, oh, this is really hard. I don't want to be connected right now. But teaching them to ground and come back into themselves so they can hear their hearts. I have this a little bit of I don't want to say fear, but like it's a little bit of a knowledge of maybe what's happened to me as I grew up as a highly sensitive, intuitive person was just when we're so sensitive to the world around us, it can be so much easier to put these layers of protection on us as we
Mhm.
grow into adults. And then we have to rediscover ourselves, right? We have to
Mhm.
get back to the core of who we are and how to hear our intuition, how to connect with ourselves again. But wouldn't it be amazing if we could see these powerful, amazing, intuitive kids that are being born not have to remove those layers of protection, not have to rediscover themselves, not have to change their career when they're 40 because they're like, "Oh, I that wasn't what my heart wanted. I was just trying to figure something out in college so I could finish." But yeah.
It would be amazing for sure. Yeah, I completely love all of that, can relate to all of that. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's why, people like you and I, we come in and now we do the work,
Yeah.
more that deeper work when we're a bit older, and the
Mhm.
unpacking and pulling back all the layers. But then it guides us into a different path of how we show up and what we do in the world. And then it gives our children permission to come alongside us without having to put all those layers on, like you're saying. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
dual mission, and they can just, it's exciting actually to think about what that generation are going to step
Yeah.
into and bring to the world. I think it's actually magic. And a lot of people have fear
Yes.
around, AI and technology, and that's where they're all going to go in that way. But imagine those conscious children that are making really conscious choices for the greater good, that
Mhm.
for not just themselves, but for the community, for the planet, because then it's more of, uh, yeah, the balance of life, light,
Yeah.
dark, whatever you want to call it, will be in more in harmony. So, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like the different generations of connected people, right? That was part of our purpose, was learning, going through what we went through so we can channel it into what we're doing with the next era. Somebody I was interviewing somebody recently on my show. I can't remember her name right now, but she had mentioned that she grew up spiritually and how it wasn't necessarily um, reverberating or what we hear from the gurus, that the spiritual gurus, but really spirituality meant learning as a child how to connect with ourselves,
Mhm.
learning how to meditate and hear. And like you said, with the sacred pause, teaching our children these pieces and these tools now so they can stay conscious into adulthood
Mhm.
to be conscious adults. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it, isn't it? How perfect, how wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a teacher, and did you teach once you'd had your children, or did your path change at that point?
Yeah, so I was a teacher, not following my heart per se. I knew children loved me. I think it was part of my light worker path, was how attracted children are to my energy and love working with me. And I realized that was so intense for me as an empath. I became a speech therapist and I worked in early intervention. So I would go into children's homes of kids who were not talking. And a lot of it was teaching parents how to be patient and work with their kids. So I did that until I had my kids. And then once I had my kids, I had this understanding of not going back and being here for my kids fully was what we
Mm.
needed. And then as I started to go back, my body resisted recently and was like, you need to do something else. And so that's this last spring, I started Heart to Heart Parents podcast to reach out and connect with other parents that were on this spiritual parenting journey as well.
Wow. And that little nudge to start the podcast, was that an inner nudge? Was it a something, or was that a external, someone suggested you should do this?
Mm.
How did that come about?
It was like a whole process for me. I honestly, I call it like a spiritual awakening at times, because it's been alongside with my life's journey in that time, was discovering some of the challenges with my kids, discovering some of the challenges in my own heart, some of my own inner child work. So I did a lot of intuitive writing at that time,
Mm.
and it kind of evolved into the podcast. And I started doing recordings and thinking I was going to use that as my marketing for some other things that I was thinking about. And then my husband was like, "You have all these recordings, just jump in." So I needed my triple Aries engineer husband to give me a little nudge. And I just went live and started doing all the podcasts. And I realized, wow, this is really heartwarming. And it really resonated with me. And I really learned in my journey, like, wow, okay, there was a purpose for this, that I did not understand this path before. It was
Yeah.
as I was trying to plan it all, this path fell into place in a magical way.
Yeah, it's all meant to be. It's all aligned, and you listened. Hey, you said the sacred yes. So good. And your podcast is beautiful. You have your own sharings and some lovely guests, and just heart to heart. Right, that's the title. Yeah,
Yeah,
it,
it's heart to heart parents.
yeah,
Mhm.
heart to heart parents, and you can feel that from the heart. That's where you drop into when you listen to it. So yeah, I think it's just, yeah, it's wonderful when we listen and we have the people
Yeah.
around us like your husband to actually help you take the action and move the needle and get it going. So
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you just
Yeah.
allow it to unfold, right? And the connections you make and the people that you meet and the people you'll be able to serve and work with. And
Yep.
yeah, yeah, it's so
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's really wonderful how sometimes I use, we're human, so we do get into our mind, and then learning how to reset and get back into the heart. And then when I'm in the heart space, that's when I meet the best guests, like having
yeah,
you on soon. So
yeah.
yeah, it's amazing what gifts and magic happens when we continue to find that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my beautiful teachers or I've heard it in other ways, but from other people, but he always said the longest journey that you'll ever take is that one from your head to your heart, and try to stay
Oh, I
down there.
love that.
And I always, yeah, hold that when, or remember that. And more recently, I've heard it a similar way. So it's such a,
Mm.
but when we can come back to the heart and answer a question or deliver a message or just from this space rather than this space, which it's so easy to go back up there, isn't it? I was a teacher too, so I completely
Oh,
resonate
yes.
with so much what you're
Yes.
saying. Yes. Ah, beautiful. And so, Carrie, in amongst all of this, like, what do you do for you to keep your soul full? What's something that you do or
Yeah,
something?
I've been diving into all of the intuitive books. I've been reading Psychic Psychology is my power up book right now. I love it. So I recommend that to any listener. But yes, so I love to continue to educate myself, heal, learn, and grow. My word for the year is light me up. Actually,
Mm,
phrase for 2025
nice.
was light me up. It was um, to learn more, grow more, heal more this year. And also I'm learning Reiki level 2. I'm so excited.
Oh,
That's on my journey
fantastic.
right
Yeah.
now. Yeah. And I'm becoming a reverend right now. So I'm going to a university for metaphysics right now online. So all of
Wow.
these, my spirit is really seeking all of the spiritual development right now. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and you're listening to it, which is so wonderful. It's sort of guiding you.
Mhm.
You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, oh, that's
Yeah.
so special. Oh, we'll have to have another
Yeah.
chat later down the track so you can let us know how that's going, because by then
Yeah.
you'll be Reiki master or teacher. I'm just finishing my Reiki teacher training.
Oh,
It's been a long
cool.
time coming, but my teachers say, come on, Maria, finally, let's get this finished. I'm on that
Yeah.
journey too.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. It fills my soul. It's amazing. I love doing the Reiki pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful tool to have, in
Hmm.
your own little toolkit for primarily yourself, and then that you can
Yep.
share with others. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the number one thing I had for my children when they were younger, just
Yes.
especially as a calming, you know, and to
I do.
reduce anxiety, and then you can kind of assess the situation of what actually is going on, and they may not need any other
Mm.
intervention always. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
100%. We've done a lot of like occupational therapy. We've tried different, since I was a speech therapist, I was on the journey of trying to try different therapies. And I recently had a therapist that told me, I think you've done all of the therapy you can with your kids. I don't think there's anything we can do for you. And I'm like, well, there's energy work. There we are. Thank you for presenting that opening for me.
yeah, yeah. And yes, children are they're like animals. They're often very receptive to it, but they don't need too much. And I have worked with
Hmm.
children that are more sensitive, or yeah, they've got some
Yep.
kind of neuro spiciness of some level, and
Yep.
you have to be really mindful of how much, because they're super sensitive. So
Yes.
it's just a short,
Yep.
for me, I need an hour session, but for a child, 5 or 10 minutes might be max. So
Yep.
yeah, mm,
I have found that as well. Yeah, that goes right along with what I've found
yeah,
in our
yeah,
path. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Oh, beautiful. Oh, well, thank you so much, Kara. This has been so beautiful. I love talking about all of these things. So we will talk again.
yes, me
Um,
too.
and I will put all of your links in the show notes, but your podcast is Heart to Heart Parents, and you have a website as well. Is that right?
Yes, it's
Uh,
hearttoheartlife.com.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I'm
everyone,
on YouTube too. Yeah, we have Heart to Heart Parents podcast on YouTube as well.
oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's good to have all these different avenues with people, because people either like, yes, Spotify or Apple or YouTube or Instagram people, or just email people. And often
Yes, it's true.
face-to-face people is really, ideal. But um,
Yep.
Yeah, all the different ways. So I'll have those links in
Hmm.
the show notes. And thank you so much for your time. This has just been beautiful. Yeah, I know everyone's going to love your
Oh,
energy. So thank you.
thank you so much, Maria. It was lovely to connect.
Isn't Carrie just beautiful? I told you you'd love it. um, yeah, such a lovely conversation. And so thank you, Carrie, for your time and your energy and your presence, and your heart, obviously your heart. So do go and follow Carrie, Heart to Heart Parents podcast, and her website is hearttoheartlife.com. I'll put these links in the show notes below. Yeah, let us know how this episode landed for you. Did it align? Did it resonate? Any questions? Please reach out to Carrie or myself. There's so much. There's so much in there. There's so much that I could relate to, and I'm sure for you as well. So yeah, keep the conversation going. If you haven't already, please follow, subscribe to the podcast, and tune in for more episodes. Like I said, I'm back after my sacred pause, and I'm really excited. I love listening, having these conversations with women, and they just, yeah, I just feel really lit up and reinvigorated. So I've got some more conversations to be released over the next little while. But if you yourself want to share your story or know of someone that would like to, please do reach out. All and everything is welcome. Nothing is off limits. And, never think that your story is not on par, because I'm telling you, it is, and it is more than that. So, yeah, wishing you a most beautiful week, everybody, and I will see you again soon.